Welcome to Late Listening. I'm Jasmine.
And I'm Chris. And today we are doing our second album review. The last episode we talked about The Dead Texan, which was our first album review, and today we're talking about The Finally LP by Mark Kozelek. So please take a listen to the record, or some of the record, and meet us back here for our discussion. I bought this album back when it came out in 2008, mainly because I was intrigued by the fact that he put his name on it. Usually he released records by Sun Kill Moon. Mm-hmm. He made a band called Sun Kill Moon after the Red House Painters. Mm-hmm. That was his first band. And I thought this was his first record that he put his name on, but actually the first one was the AC/DC cover album. He did that under his own name, which at the time I was not very aware of that. But I thought, oh, that's interesting. He put his name on this record. It's just his name. It's not Sun Kill Moon. It's not Red House Painters. And that intrigued me. And so I got it. And I didn't know what this was. I didn't know that it was an album of covers. 2 original songs and all the rest are cover songs.
Yeah, I was listening to it without knowing that. I thought these were all his songs.
Mm-hmm. 10 songs in 30 minutes. It's a nice, tight little record. I thought it was an EP, but technically it's an LP. Let's talk about some of the songs. It's interesting the way that he covers songs, because when you listen to the originals, most of them don't sound anything like the originals at all.
Yeah, again, I didn't know these were covers, and for this, we listened to all the original songs, and it really, really made me wonder about the definition of a cover, because these songs are very, very different than the original, mm-hmm. most parts.
Yeah.
And you'd be very surprised, oh, this became this, and that's a cover. It's sounds like a completely different song.
Yeah. I mean, the first track 2 and track 3, I mean, really, there's no similarity to the original except the lyrics.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, because I don't have very good musical ears, I thought, oh, he probably used the same chords, or he probably used a similar, maybe he's pulling out some elements that were in the original, but you said you couldn't even really find much.
I feel like he often changes even the melodies.
Yeah, definitely.
For some parts, and then I'm not entirely sure, but I think he changes the chords as well. But some of the originals don't really have chords per se, because sometimes it's just a man and a guitar.
Yeah. Most of this album is just him and a guitar.
Not like the chord guitar, but that boom boom boom,
like arpeggios and kind of a
hard to indicate that the chord.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I feel like Mark Kozelek made everything kind of his music, like this album music, very sad, melancholy, and that's just his songs.
Well, he has such a gift for melody. I mean, his own songs,
Okay.
I mean, look at the song like "Have You Forgotten" from Red House Painters, or the songs like that. I mean, the melodies are just absolutely beautiful. And I feel like for this album too, it's just him and an acoustic guitar for the most part, and he's able to add these little flourishes on the guitar, and he's able to just do these really dynamic melodies, even though it's so soft and it's so understated. But his voice is just doing a lot of little hooks, and as a listener, it's so interesting. Whereas sometimes the original song is pretty simple. I mean, a lot of these songs are indie songs, and the vocalists are not really doing much with their voices, but he is doing a lot, and he's finding these melodies somehow. And I really respect him as like a melody writer.
I see. Yeah, I didn't.
I mean, look at Finally. Finally is maybe the best example of that, because the original song Her melody is really unique, and it kind of goes all over the
Yeah.
place. But his melody is so solid, and it just really has this aching, melancholy quality that pulls you through the song, and it's so memorable. It's so hooky in a way. Like it really gets stuck in my head. Whereas the original song doesn't get stuck in my head. It's just sort of a, I don't know, like an upbeat folk song.
Yeah. Yeah, melody, I guess memorable melodies with like a chords. I think to me it's always a chord progression that grabs me, like his music or different music in general. It just that's what indicates the mood. So you know what you're supposed to feel. And when that intention of the song meets my favorite mood, that's usually my favorite song
Yeah.
or artist. And yeah, he definitely does. Like this is one of my favorite albums, and I think he puts like some chords that make you feel insecure. It's not like a total resolve necessarily, and it's not a total harmonic chords. And sometimes he puts that kind of intentional insecure, unsure, like kind of doubting, questioning feel by putting those chords, I think. So yeah, I really like it. It's very emotional.
Yeah, yeah, it is emotional. It's funny that you say this is one of your favorite albums, because I can't think of another like compilation that flows together as well as this.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm a big fan of, like, for example, Nirvana. You know, Nirvana has Incesticide, which is just their B-sides and you know, unreleased things and like radio performances and stuff. And it flows pretty okay as an album, but it is kind of all over the place, you know. And I feel like every time an artist puts out something like that, it's usually sort of just a mixed bag. You know, it's not really something you can put on and listen to from front to back. But this album flows together amazingly well,
Yeah.
considering how like eclectic it is. But I suppose just him and an acoustic guitar. So I mean, it's, you know, you've got like heavy metal covers of AC/DC. You've got show tunes like "Send in the Clowns," but then it's all wrapped up in his world, like you were saying, yeah, like his sound. So because he sets it with the acoustic guitar and the voice, I think everything sits together very well. But even so, it does take you on kind of a journey.
Yeah, I guess this is kind of similar to the Dead Texan album that we did last time. It's kind of like this whole thing is one song, or one atmosphere and one experience, which I like that kind of album, I guess, as just to put on as a background, and then I'm doing something, I'm cooking or I'm working or, you know, doing something.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the way that these songs are put together, you know, there's, I think the number one thing is that melancholy, what you were saying, the melancholy,
Yeah.
you know, but then, like, for example, track 6, track 7, Bedtime Lullaby, or Celebrated Summer, I mean, those are kind of uplifting songs. And Bedtime Lullaby is not
yeah.
necessarily uplifting, but it's like a peaceful, you know, rest your head, go to sleep now.
Yeah.
This nice little kind of interlude in the middle. Celebrated Summer is kind of a bittersweet song about looking back on, you know, playing in a band and being out with your friends, and, you know, that was the good time. So it's kind of wistful, and kind of nostalgic. But then most of the other songs are pretty dark. They have that, you know,
Yeah, well,
a little bit of hint of death or something.
yeah. My favorite feelings that my favorite mood, feelings, emotions that I like to feel through music is that, you know, this kind of thing, melancholy, sad, dark, and bittersweet and nostalgic. This kind of feel is absolutely like my favorite, but it can be also sappy, cheesy, like, you know, asking for tears, which you always argue that American people don't like that.
Sentimentality.
Yeah, sentimentality, and the Japanese people really like buy that.
Yeah, well, it's more of a part of your culture.
Yeah, so like that makes me wonder like why you like this album.
Oh, well, I like Mark Kozelek for the most part. I'm not a huge fan of him, partly because he just has so many things. Like, he releases like a couple albums every
So
year.
because it's him, you like this.
Well, let me clarify. I like his style. I mean, I like Sun Kill Moon. I was already a fan of his album Tiny Cities, which was he took all the Modest Mouse songs and he made acoustic versions of all of those. Now, I was not aware of the AC/DC covers. That was a big thing for him. It was like, oh, you took all these AC/DC songs and you made acoustic versions of them, and that was like a big thing at the time. But that passed me by somehow. But being a Modest Mouse fan, I was like, this is amazing. Like Tiny Cities was really an incredible record, and I like both Modest Mouse and Sun Kill Moon's versions of Modest Mouse songs.
Okay.
And also the Ghosts of the Great Highway, which you like that record.
Yeah.
Carry Me Ohio, and those records came out around the same time. Ghosts of the Great Highway and the Tiny Cities album. I think it was. Actually, I have it written down. Yeah, Ghosts of the Great Highway was 2003, Tiny Cities 2005. And then this is 2008. And so I was following him. I mean, I knew, I was like, the guy from Red House Painters is like having a good career with like Sun Kill Moon. And this came out and I was like, it's under his own name. What's the deal? And I bought it and I thought, oh, it just sounds like, it's like that Modest Mouse album. It's like the Modest Mouse covers album, Tiny Cities. Same kind of thing, except instead of Modest Mouse, it's just a whole bunch of random artists. And I should clarify for anyone who doesn't know what this album is. All of these songs were released on benefits, and there's a live radio performance, and it's all just kind of like harder to find tributes that he did, and then he compiled it with an instrumental song first and an instrumental song last, and all the rest are just cover songs.
So you don't find it too cheesy, or?
Well, I mean, no, I don't. I think like you said.
I just wonder what's the difference. I'm just curious.
Well, like the thing is that I'm not very familiar with most of these songs. When you're so familiar with a song, when somebody covers that song, you're going to have a lot of feelings about it. You know what I mean? Like, even Send in the Clowns, which was written by Stephen Sondheim from a musical called A Little Night Music. I didn't know that. I didn't know about musical theater. I don't really follow musicals. I had never heard of A Little Night Music. But I had known The Simpsons. Krusty the Clown sings his own version, which actually those lyrics are not the Send in the Clowns lyrics. They're original lyrics for The Simpsons. But Krusty the Clown sings Send in the Clowns in the episode Krusty Gets Canceled. Mm-hmm. And so my only association on this whole record, my two associations are Krusty the Clown singing Send in the Clowns, which, I mean, that doesn't hold any like real weight for this version. And then the song Lazy by Low, which I really like the band Low. Their first album, I Could Live in Hope, has the song Lazy on it. And so only those two songs were the only ones that I had any awareness of who the artist was. Krusty the Clown and Low. Mm-hmm. So when I listened to it, it was all new to me. It was all I had no preconceptions.
Right.
And so I just took it as it was. I mean, I was aware, like I read the liner notes and I was like, oh, these are all covers. But it didn't really mean much to me that they were covers, other than, oh, now I can go look up these artists and find out about these artists. Mm-hmm. So I basically just took it as a Mark Kozelek album.
Yeah.
In the same way, Tiny Cities as well. Like, I don't really think about that as like Modest Mouse. Like, I don't think about Modest Mouse when I listen to that album.
Yeah.
I know those songs, I know those lyrics, but it's its own thing. It's like the songs don't even sound anything alike. Mm-hmm. So I just take it as his album, as his music, pretty much. I think he's a master at like breaking apart a song and reconstructing it into something beautiful. So in some cases, I think his versions are actually better than the original. Like Send in the Clowns. Like, I listened to the original of Send in the Clowns by Judy Collins, the Judy Collins version, and I listened to the Frank Sinatra version. And I was like, I see, it's, schmaltzy. Like, very appropriate that Krusty the Clown would cover that. And then I listened to his version, and it's like, I don't even think it's Send in the Clowns. It just sounds like a nice little ballad. Mm. Also, the song My Friend Bob, which was by the band Ed's Redeeming Qualities, he actually changes the lyrics a little bit in that song. There's a line at the end of the song where he's in the original. They sing, "Bob's been having a rough night, but now the sun is shining bright. My friend Bob is bound to travel light." But Mark Kozelek changes that to, "Bob's been having a rough night. I know he's bound to travel light. I know he's bound to travel light." And I actually like the fact that he kind of removed that "sun is shining bright" part, because it made it a little sadder, a little more bittersweet, a little bit darker. And yeah, I think that song especially really benefits from that kind of Americana folky treatment. The song "Lazy" by Low, I actually like the original better, because I feel like Low has those cool guitars and it's kind of spooky and ominous, whereas he turns that into kind of like a country song. I mean, folk song, Americana song, but it really sounds like a country song. "Sarah, you're lazy." It's just kind of like, it kind of sounds goofy a little bit compared to the original, where it's this kind of like, the original has this kind of spookiness to it. Yeah, he makes it a little bit, I don't want to say happy, but he kind of brightens it up a little too much for me. I wish that one was a little bit darker. But in terms of this record, it's nice to have colors. I mean, it's nice to have a brighter song. I think his version is fine. I just prefer the Low version.
Yeah.
That's one of the rare cases that I can say that. What's your favorite song on the album?
Finally.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, those lyrics are amazing too. What was that lady's name? I always forget. I don't listen to her music much. Kath Bloom. Finally. She's a folk singer. I wanted to ask you real quick about covering songs, because you have, sometimes sat down at the piano and you've worked out a cover of a song that you like. And I wanted to just ask you about, what's your process? Number one, how do you decide what song to cover? Is it just a feeling, or, how do you make that decision? And then number two, how do you go about covering a song? What do you look for? And if you could talk about what goes through your mind.
Well, first of all, I have to like that song.
Yeah.
Enough to want to play on the piano.
Sure.
And that's the first motivation for me.
Yeah, of course.
Like it enough that, so I just play usually the part that I really like about that song. As I play, it just comes, usually the secondary melody comes to me. I don't know why. I guess it's just I get inspired enough and then just to get the secondary
melody, meaning on the piano.
Yeah, the melody is going. I mean, that's a primary. It's a melody, and then like something like call and response. It's like something else comes in. Like I start hearing it.
So you are making a second melody.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, and I feel the need to put that in. With the main melody going on and the main chords, like I definitely don't change melody line or the chords so much. This is my thing. Like even my original songs, like even when I was a child, I start hearing it and then I just put that onto the like piano or computer or whatever as much as possible.
Yeah.
I'm hearing it, and
all the parts.
So yeah. So usually the cover secondary thing comes in, like it can be a rhythm, like this kind of feel, like for example that like a very old Japanese song that I really like the melody, and then other than that it doesn't really have much of anything. So I just want to put in this like kind of like this like drum, this like rhythm, like
I was gonna ask what instrument. Yeah, okay, drums or sure.
And then the secondary, like this like way of putting the chords with a piano, I just would put in and I guess like you kind of weave like the original melody with your not interpretation, like your
feeling of like
inspiration.
Yeah, kind of going off of what's there.
Yeah, sure. You just kind of make it all together.
Yeah, it's like the original and your own kind of ideas and input like
Yeah,
like layering
this
and
would
weaving.
go well with it. I
Yeah.
guess it's kind of like cooking, you know. Like
Yeah, sure.
whenever I eat something, I feel like if I add this, like
Yeah.
this might be better, or
Add a little spice, add some extra ingredients.
yeah,
Sure.
you'd kind of imagine that, and then you just kind of put it on, and hopefully it will be better than original, or
Yeah.
as it is. It just
Sure, sure. Do you think he's doing that in, like, for example, in Finally, or the third song, New Partner, where those songs really don't resemble the original at all? Do you think he sort of sat down and, like, figured out, like, based on this song, I can, like, make this song, and then he sort of threw away any of the original and sort of kept whatever
Yeah.
he made off of that? Like, it would be like you sitting down and, instead of weaving, like, you would come up with all of your parts, and then you would kind of discard the original, except maybe the lyrics, and then you would just keep that. Maybe that's kind of what he's doing in a way.
Yeah, well, honestly, I didn't really take these as covers. Like, to me, I didn't look it up. Did you?
What?
The definition of a cover song.
I mean, these are considered cover songs.
Yeah, I know.
but-
To me, these are not cover songs.
Yeah. Like reconstructions or
Reinterpretation.
reinterpretations
Yeah.
or okay. Well, some of these, I mean, I'm not trying to split hairs, but I mean, some of them are covers. Like they resemble the original. Like
Yeah,
like
I
Celebrated
know
Summer.
they are covers,
Yeah.
but to me, these are not. Is
Okay.
what I'm saying.
Okay.
Just totally different take of an idea.
Sure.
I mean, that's why I was saying, like, I don't know what defines a cover, but to me, this is not. It's just his ideas
Yeah.
of each song.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to call that the cover, it's fine. But to me, it was a new idea.
Yeah.
So if I hear the original song, that impression is too strong for me.
Yeah.
I cannot do it like
Well,
this.
I think that's most people. I mean, most cover songs sound somewhat like the original song, even if they're stripped down or whatever.
Yeah.
But in
it's
his
very
case,
hard.
it really is quite different.
Yeah, it's a reconstruction. So, yeah.
Yeah.
But I really think it's hard when you have that original songs playing in your head and build something else with the idea of it. It's very hard.
I can't think of another record like this except for Cat Power, the covers record. I really like that album as well, and that's maybe the only other example of an album where it's all covers and it flows very nicely. That album is really also somewhat of a masterpiece. Cat Power, the covers record. I really like that album, and it's similar in the sense that she strips everything down to just her and piano or her and guitar. Well, this one is even more amazing because this is a compilation. I mean, it's not even he didn't even do all these songs at the same time. In the case of Cat Power, she made all of those covers and made the record. Like at that time, I don't know how long it took her to cover all those songs, but I mean, they were all made for that album. But he didn't make these songs for this album. He just put them out, over a few years. And then he sort of wrapped them all up into this. And that's what makes it kind of more amazing,
Yeah.
And then he puts the beautiful track number 1, the piano song. And then track number 10, Gaping Mouth, which is a very beautiful, like, Spanish guitar, nylon string guitar with the electric guitar over the top of it. Those two instrumental songs are amazing as well. It's really like a beautiful intro and a beautiful outro. That kind of makes it just wraps it all up so neatly.
Yeah.
All right, that's all we've got. The Finally LP by Mark Kozelek. This has been a late listening production. I'm Chris.
Jasmine.
Thank you for watching. See you again.